So the financial services industry is particularly prone to narrative attacks because the thing is one big narrative. That's what it is. You know, when I was at AT&T, they sent me off to business school to learn a little bit about financial services. I thought it was going to be numbers, and I had a professor who took me aside and said, Ed, no, this isn't numbers. It's emotions, it's people. Markets are about narratives, stories, emotions. And that was a big deal for me because I just assumed it's, numbers are sort of rational, but they're not. Markets are one giant narrative, and I think that really makes it about as prone to narrative attacks as maybe any industry you can imagine. So if you work in that sector, if you're in banking, if you're in markets, if you're investments, then you already know that one false narrative can swing things up or down in a very potentially harmful way. So we need to be very attentive to this threat in this sector. Financial services is all about information, right? I mean, the insider trading rules are about how you manage information. And the thing that's difficult when it comes to narratives in banking is that sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. Like we all remember Silicon Valley Bank really did have a problem, and it really did make sense for people to go off and, say, level set some of their accounts to reduce risk. But it all started with a narrative, right? It was a bunch of investment houses that went and sort of made some recommendations to their startup companies to do this or that, and it snowballed, and the next thing you know, you have this big narrative disaster. But again, parts of it were true, parts of it not, and that's the challenge in this industry. It's not so simple as here's this narrative and you should ignore it, or here's this narrative and you should not ignore it. We have to gain insight. We have to determine what's real, what's not, and that's why having good narrative intelligence is absolutely essential in banking and financial services. I don't think you can run a modern bank without having a good narrative intelligence layer. You know, one of the things that Blackbird does well for banking is it establishes a real-time focus. Like if you think about banking and financial services, unfortunately, you have to think in real time, like maybe not even minutes, it could be seconds. So you absolutely have to have a picture that's consistent with what's going on now. Like I can't find out 3 days later. That's not going to do much for markets. I can see the harm of some narrative already hit before I even know what happened. So I think that intelligence layer around narrative that you get with Blackbird is so important for banking because of that real-time nature. I spent some time on the board of directors of a very large bank, and I remember it being reinforced that we were in a real-time business. You're in a business where one bad decision in a morning can cause a very bad afternoon. So I think that that's one of the things that I like about Blackbird, that it does bring that real-time narrative intelligence to an industry that can go up or down on a dime based on a story or an emotion or a narrative. So if you're a CISO and you're wondering about this new threat vector called narrative intelligence, let me give you a little bit of advice. This is going to have elements that'll feel very comfortable to you and also things that are brand new. It's a combination. The things that are maybe comfortable is that you're going to be ingesting data, you're going to be working with good vendors and partners to make sense out of it, and you make decisions. We've all been doing that in cybersecurity for 20 or 30 years. The difference here is that most of the controls, most of the things that are happening are well outside your purview. This is not around systems that you control, infrastructure you bought, applications you manage. It is not that at all. This is something that's happening outside your control. It's a narrative that could be in social media, and it could directly impact your business. We all grew up in cybersecurity knowing that if there was a problem, we could control the fix. We could turn something off. We could make a change. We could go in and block, divert, manage, filter. These are words that we use. They don't apply in narrative intelligence. It's a very different threat vector, and it's one you have to educate yourself on. I would say the first step, go pick a nice partner. Pick somebody, pick some vendors or vendor that knows what they're doing. Spend some time with them, because they're evolving. This is a threat vector that's changing, and we all have to evolve with it. So that would be my advice. Time to educate, pick a good vendor, and recognize that there are going to be parts of this that'll be comfortable and parts of this threat vector that are very new.